Another Browns player in trouble, new stadium news, and the NFL draft is creeping up. A lot going on right now on the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. The sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Cut back by Chubb. He's to the 10. He's still running to the 5. He dips outside left. He's going in. Touchdown. What a run. Nick Chubb.
It's going to be sick.
Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing? Look, I figured it'd been a while. It was collecting dust. The Victory Monday Browns mug. So I'd bust it out. Why not? Huh? It's not Monday and there's no football, but why the heck not? Listen, guys, we got a great show for you today, okay? We're going to run through some Browns news and notes. We're going to bring on Eric Edholm, NFL lead draft writer. Can't wait to hear from him. That's going to be a lot of fun because the NFL draft day is creeping up. Of course, we know the Browns don't have a first-round pick, don't have a second-round pick. We got 2/3, and after that, right? So not the most exciting first couple days of the draft. The most exciting thing probably for me, draft day, will be watching the draft day movie, which is an annual tradition that myself and my dad always watch, the Kevin Costner movie. Best sports movie. Best sport. You find me a better sports movie if you're a Browns fan. Now, granted, if it was about like the Buffalo Bills or something, there's some story loopholes that aren't great. But because it's the Browns, it's the best movie. I want to know your favorite sports movie. What's the favorite sports movie? You know, Rudy's up there, the Rockies and all. Give me Draft Day. Sonny Weaver Jr. Guy eating the pancakes, wants David Putney. Let's go. I got where is it? Right there. Got the coaster. Can you see? I got that when the movie first came out in theaters. It's great. Also, get your gear. Fantasy football season is going to be coming right up, folks. You can get that link in this show. Right, go below to the description. You'll see the link. You can find all the Browns fantasy football gear ready for you from Sick Media. Make sure to click subscribe, notification, share this. Okay, let's get into some Browns news. At SickPod Browns, at AndyMC81 on Twitter, and on Instagram at AndyMC Sports. All right, there's Browns legal trouble. You know, kind of Deshaun Watson. There was a deposition. It kind of got squashed. It got thrown out. Okay, so we'll have to track that, but doesn't look like it should interfere with Deshaun Watson and the offseason program. So that's at least a plus from a football side. Human side, do whatever you want with it, but football focus side, at least he won't be interrupted there. But there's a new one, Perrion Winfrey, guys. What's going on? Won the draft. Remember last year? Came on, I'm a dog, brother, and he's barking and all that. I was like, let's go. And he had disciplinary issues. And man, this is somebody who needs Jim Schwartz. This is a guy who needs the discipline of Jim Schwartz in a big way, because I still think he can be a contributor. I believe Perrion Winfrey can be a contributor, and he has to be. Look at the depth chart of the Browns on the defensive line, okay? We know we made the free agent acquisitions, but this is still the thinnest group. And now with Perrion Winfrey in, out, what is he actually going to be as a professional? So let's look at that D-line for us. Dalvin Tomlinson, as we spoke, a good player. Listen, the Browns' defensive tackles were so bad last year, it didn't matter. Pretty much anything was going to be an upgrade. So that's fine. But Dalvin Tomlinson isn't a Pro Bowl player, really. Nice plug. He's a good, solid player. He's good. If we had gotten like Hargrave and Tomlinson or something, or I would be fine with that. So we got Tomlinson. Next are Jordan Elliott. He's been spotty. He hasn't been able to stay on the field. He's flashed. Can he remain on the football field where he's useful? Question unknown. Hasn't been able to do it yet. Can Jim Schwartz bring the most out of him? You need that. Then behind them, Maurice Hurst, health issue comes up again. The guy when briefly healthy has been awesome. Can't stay on the field. Bonus that's a bonus sign. If he works out, bonus. If he doesn't, nothing less. But Perrion Winfrey is being relied upon in a big way. In a big way. He's right behind there. Otherwise, you got Ben Still, Tommy Togiai. You know, there's not a lot there. Defensive end, of course, we got Myles Garrett, Isaiah Thomas. We got Double O, Okoronkwo, and then Alex Wright. So still very pedestrian when you look at it. Good, not great. So my thing is this. I believe, and we'll talk to Eric Edholm in a few minutes about which possible third, later round draft picks might make sense for the Browns to look at on the interior defensive line. Because at this point, you're looking for day one rotational players. You're looking for someone who can get in the lineup, Maybe they're 2 downs. Maybe they stop the run. Maybe they penetrate. Maybe whatever. But you need a contributor that can be rotated in or out. Very unlikely that you get a day one stud at that rate because there's a reason that they drop, right? You find them, but unlikely. However, there are some free agents still available, folks. I was looking at this. I use Spot Track, good little site. Now, has some character issues, but man, who wants him some Frank Clark? Cleveland guy. Personality, is he the best human in the world? No. There's lots of jerks in football. Lots of bad dudes. You want to be all high and mighty about look at whatever somebody else's favorite team is, littered with them. Give me Frank Clark at 29 years old coming off of Kansas City. We got a new Kansas City safety. Bring over Frank Clark. That's a perfect 1 year boom on the end. Doesn't solve the interior line, but boy, you had a Frank Clark 1 year deal. Let's go. That's phenomenal. I think that'd be a terrific sign. Then after that, you get to, let's say, a Robert Quinn. Again, on the end, we're looking at Clowney's out there. Hard pass. No. Then we get, so that's defensive. And then we look at defensive tackles. Okay. We look at Shelby Harris, formerly with Seattle. He's a professional. I kind of categorize them in the same vein as a Dalvin Tomlinson force. They're professional players. They're good, but they're not going to blow the roof off. I still think the Browns need those type to back up a Perrion Winfrey, or for Perrion Winfrey to not rely on him. So Shelby Harris makes some sense. Look, Michael Brockers out of Detroit, 32, a little bit older. I don't mind. Poona Ford, defensive end. He's always been underwhelming to me. Yeah, the defensive tackle class, guys. Oy. Ndamukong Suh's still out there. 36. Why not? You went with Philly. You plug Sue in the middle? Guy's a beast. Come on. Linval Joseph, 34. Again, older player. But that's fine if you're on a 1 year deal. The Browns are all in, folks. The Browns are all in, right? They're all in. This is an all-in year. Look at the signings. Look at the getting rid of the draft picks. Look at Deshaun. This is an all-in year. So you don't have that option or necessity, really, because this front office and coaching staff, you don't make the playoffs this year. You're under 500 again. You're gone. You're gone. So you better backload yourself with some of these veterans. Other Browns news, a stadium change news, sort of. It goes not First Energy Stadium. The Cleveland Browns announced that the team and First Energy Stadium have mutually agreed to end the naming rights, which means First Energy Stadium, which was Cleveland Browns Stadium, is now Cleveland Browns Stadium again. So who cares? Interesting nugget, though. The last time the Browns won in Cleveland Browns Stadium, when it was called that, December 9, 2012, versus the Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Benjamin got his first career punt return touchdown, 93-yard return. Browns blew out KC 30-7. Different world in 2012. But that's a little nugget for you. All right. There we go. All right, folks. Hey, you know what? Some other news that we'll get to a little bit later on is with Odell Beckham Jr. joining the Ravens. I'm going to save that one for later on in the show. That's quite hilarious to me. But the Browns we mentioned still need some help. Still some free agent options, but you do have those 2 third-round picks and a few other picks as well. What can the Browns do there? And really, let's take a look as the NFL draft quickly approaches. Let's bring in my guy, NFL.com lead draft writer, Eric Edholm, in the house. Eric, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, great to have you on and chat with you again. And listen, Eric, like I said, you're putting out great content on NFL.com. You got the rankings out. I love the riser and fallers because, as we know, listen, a lot of people make fun of the combine, but it's a real thing, these risers and fallers based on your performance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And some of my risers and fallers also have to do with, boy, I look at a player and I say, I haven't talked to anybody about him. I gotta make some phone calls, right? And I was maybe a little high on him, a little low on him. So some of this is a correction of sorts to the second edition. And it's, you can watch tape on all these guys, but it's hard to get opinions, multiple opinions on every single player in the top 150 or something. So information keeps coming in at all times, but I definitely think the postseason matters to your draft outlook, right? I mean, Zach Kuntz, Old Dominion tight end, right? Like he tests through the roof and he's coming off an ACL. That answers a lot of questions for him as a prospect, right? So there are dozens of examples of players who fit into that category, obviously, but a lot of it is eye test too. If it's at the East-West, the Senior Bowl, simply moving through the positional drills in Indy. I mean, a lot of the evaluators are seeing them in person for the first time, and they want to just get a feel for them, how they move athletically, how they interact with their teammates, how they do on the whiteboard, all those different things. So yeah, it's all part of it. I still think the tape is king, but the testing and the postseason process adds a few layers, I think, to the scouting process.
Yeah, and those interviews we don't see, of course, behind the scenes. But yeah, Eric, I'm right with you. I love watching the combine because, like you said, maybe it's like, hey, I heard of that guy, but I don't know a lot about him. This intrigued me, good or bad. Right. And I think, too, a big thing is the wide receivers. And this came from a few years ago from Michael Irvin. And it stuck with me when he was watching. He said, when you're watching these receivers, look at their hands. How did they catch? Not their size speed. Are they catching? And he showed the right way to notice a natural pass catcher. And I found that fascinating. That's something that stands out, that you can find that. Maybe you're not getting that on game tape all the time, but at the combine, you can.
Yeah, it's funny, to prove my limitations as an evaluator. I mean, I try to scout these guys just like everybody else does, but I don't have the training and the experience and the behind the scenes knowledge that everybody else did. It's probably been 5 years since this happened now, maybe 6. I can't remember exactly when he came out, but Andy Isabella, remember he was the second rounder a couple years back, had a big first day catching the football at the Senior Bowl. And this leads to your point. And so that night, as people do in Mobile, you go out for drinks, you mingle with people. And I saw a scout that I know, and he introduced me to a couple of guys who work for the same team at the time. And they said, they were sizing me up, and they said, who looked good to you today? And I said, well, that Isabella kid caught everything. And they all just went, because he was a body catcher, right? He was fast as all heck. And, he set 3 cone drill records and 40 time records and all, whatever. But he was small, probably a slot only, or, you worried about his ability. But also, how did he catch the football? The body catching doesn't work in the NFL except when you have to, right? So if that's what you default to, then people are going to notice the really savvy scouts. So, yeah, I think Michael Irvin has a point, right? You want to see, do they come back for the football? What are their natural instincts like on the high point passes versus the ones that are on the shoe tops versus the ones that are right in the breadbasket? And how far can they extend, and how naturally do they shift into running mode? I mean, there's all these little aspects of playing wide receiver that you and I and a lot of other, avid football watchers can overlook very easily.
Absolutely. And somebody you have in your NFL.com article, as a riser, and someone that caught my eye as well, wide receiver, because for the Browns, we're a Brown show, Eric, so we keep our eye kind of on there. And even with Elijah Moore and Marquise Goodwin being added on, well, maybe you need a little bit of depth. Maybe you like somebody that stands out to me, Marvin Mims out of Oklahoma. You have him as a riser, and I like it. He's also a decisive punt returner. I found he doesn't lose speed after he catches the ball. That's nothing, catches it in stride. Why did you like Mims?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the production is really impressive. I mean, averaged almost 20 yards a catch for 3 seasons. Now, granted, Oklahoma will put up big numbers offensively, but as much of a mess as they had last year as a team, he was very consistent for them, catching passes and producing pretty regularly. He kind of still will drop some every now and then that you feel like he should catch, but a couple of punts that he muffed. I think it may have been last year that happened. I can't remember exactly when, but so not a perfect prospect, only 183 pounds, probably slot only. But if you can kind of get past the small frame and the lack of bulk there, I mean, boy, the speed sub 4.4 time is very good. Under 7 seconds for a 3 cone time. Good explosion in his jumping drills as well. So the athletic is there, and he's a vertical threat. No doubt about it. He can be used on posts. He can use on drag routes and stress defenses horizontally. So I think he's a perfect kind of 3rd or 4th option who will give you that big play ability without necessarily the volume. I mean, he only caught 100-something passes in 3 years, but when you need that explosive play, he's your guy. So I think he's probably somewhere in that 3rd round range, if I had to guess right now.
And that's really when you're looking at that. And from the Browns' perspective, without a 1st or 2nd round pick, and you're looking 2 3rd round picks and pass, it's very rare. You're not going to get a perfect prospect. You get the one gem here and there, whatever. That's fine. But mostly, I think the best case scenario, Eric, coming out of that is you want somebody who can come in as a rotation, someone coachable, someone maybe you feel has potential to build but can still contribute. So a Mims is like that. Now, we need defensive tackles. I need defensive linemen, Eric. I need them. And I can't. Dalvin Tomlinson, I didn't mind the signing, but still we're a little light. One of our other tackles, Perrion, Winfrey's in trouble with some domestic violence issues. We need depth. So is there any defensive lineman that kind of stood out to you that you think, okay, maybe in that third, fourth round day that might be available?
Yeah, it's not the greatest year of all time, in my opinion, for defensive tackles. We've got some guys at the top who are interesting, but even they come with questions like Carter and Brian Brissy and et cetera, Kalijah Cansey. But as you go farther down the line, for instance, I probably don't think that Keanu Benton from Wisconsin is going to be there. Adi Tamawa Adebore from Northwestern. Most people are sort of seeing him inside. I think he's probably gone by the time they pick, but you never know. I would say at that spot, your best bet might be somebody like a Zach Pickens from South Carolina, maybe a Cameron Young from Mississippi State, Jacqueline Roy from LSU, the other young, Byron Young from Alabama, I would say is probably in that same kind of late day 2, early day 3 range, something like that. So that may not be the worst place in the world to look for a tackle unless there's an early run, like an unexpected run where, Mozzie Smith and Jervon Dexter and Siaki Ika all go off the board pretty early in the second or something. And then maybe you're picking from a slimmer crop at that point.
Right. Well, fair enough. And in some of your followers in the article there, and by the way, folks, you can get the link at Eric's Twitter at Eric_Edholm or NFL.com, of course. This may be, depending on the followers, and if the reasoning by the team isn't too great, where maybe you can get some value. I noticed Carl Brooks out of Bowling Green moved down to 98, dropped 18 spots. And I got to be honest with you, Eric, my viewership of Bowling Green football isn't where it needs to be. I don't know that much, but yes. I saw defensive tackle. I saw a guy who played a bit of edge, but that people think could move inside. So that interested me.
Quite a bit of edge. Yeah, it was strange watching the tape because you see this massive, 300-pound guy sitting on as a 6 or a 7 technique outside, and you think, okay, this is different, right? I'm not used to this, but he found ways to get in the backfield. He, had a pretty disappointing testing times at his pro day. The vertical jump and the explosion stuff was not that great. He didn't work out at the combine. The 3-cone drill. Thought he was, just okay in some of the better matchups he had, but it's a little bit of a projection because, as you pointed out, I mean, he's probably, I guess you could probably use him in different techniques, but you may want to try him as a 3 technique. And I don't know that he's starting great at this point, but it's hard to overlook, I think 20 tackles for loss, 10 sacks last year, disruptive. He found ways to knock down passes at the line of scrimmage. He's forced a bunch of fumbles in his career. He's been productive since the minute he stepped on campus, which is also, I appreciate a guy who's just been contributing so much. He had one big injury, I think his sophomore year, is a foot injury, but he's a rotational player, which is what you'd expect somebody at that level of the draft, kind of that 4th, 5th round range, I would guess. But the athleticism suggests that he's best playing, 18 to 30 snaps or something like that. I don't know that you count on him full time as I think passing down 3 technique is really maybe his best role.
I think I might take him, Eric. I think I like him. I like, because that's what we want. If he can be a day 1 guy, and then you have Jim Schwartz. That's a huge hire for the Browns. Who's coached players up, who's gotten the best out of defenses, who has that respect from players at all levels, being a Super Bowl winner. So somebody like that, with the size you mentioned, you can't teach size. You have that productivity in college. That could be a nice spot. I do like that. From the running back group, this has been notable. A what looks to be a really deep crop. And for the Browns, you got Nick Chubb, obviously. They drafted Jerome Ford in the 5th last year. Kareem Hunt's gone. D'Ernest Johnson's gone. who are a couple of the running backs? Robinson's likely going to be the first one off the board. He's phenomenal. But are there some running backs that kind of, maybe can come in, change a pace type of deal that you like?
Yeah, there are quite a few. I mean, I obviously if we're sort of assuming that, Jahmyr Gibbs and even probably Tajay Spears, Zach Charbonnet are gone, those kind of guys. I think probably starting in that mid third round range. First of all, the first and second down guys would be Roshan Johnson, who was Bijan Robinson's backup. Kendry Miller, who didn't play in the national title game because of the injury, but was TCU's kind of workhorse this year. Somebody is kind of a change of pace player who's got an interesting skill set. Izzy Abanikanda from Pitt is somebody with speed, but also toughness to play in, on first and second down. So he just doesn't offer much as a receiver. That's the problem. I mean, yeah, it's when you start getting into that day 3 range, obviously, I'm trying to think of I was going to say Darren Sproles. What's his name? The Kansas State running back. Blanking right now, but yes, the Darren Sproles lookalike. And so
the type, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Chase Brown is another one who kind of fits that mold. Kenny Deuce Vaughn is the name of the Kansas State guy.
Deuce Vaughn, yes, okay, yeah.
100 and whatever catches. Yeah, he's an explosive guy. He averaged over 10 yards a catch. He's just not a pass blocker. I mean, that's the one thing he'll give it effort. But so a lot of the late day 2, early day 3 guys are more of your first and second down mold, but you do find the occasional player like that. I mean, I think Chase Brown caught enough passes last year at Illinois to where you feel like, okay, he can do it maybe a little better than we realized. Eric Gray from he used to be at Tennessee, Oklahoma. I would say that's maybe an underdeveloped part of his game. I think they probably could have thrown him more passes at both places. And, that's somebody who with a little bit of power, a little bit of vision and some soft hands as well.
Interesting. Couple more for you here, Eric, then we'll let you go. In conversation with NFL.com lead draft writer Eric Edholm. Get him on Twitter at Eric_Edholm. Okay, so let's talk about where the Browns will not be drafting at the very top. And boy, when it comes to quarterbacks, like we're hearing it was Bryce Young, then at the combine and after CJ Stroud. Now I'm hearing Eric's strong conversation to come back around to Bryce Young. I cannot wrap my head around a 5'10" quarterback going first overall. I know Kyler Murray did it, but people were complaining when Baker was under 6'1". Okay. So I know he's got the talent, but man, if I got my usually if you're a GM, you get one shot at that first overall pick. I'd rather take my chance on a 6'4" overcomer like CJ Stroud personally. Where are you at with the first overall pick?
I worry about the durability for sure. I mean, Bryce Young was an absolute blast to watch on tape. Sure. He was my favorite quarterback to watch on tape. Just if I'm playing, if I'm most enjoyable viewing experience. Yeah. And a lot of that will translate. His quick processing ability is, I mean, we think of Alabama as ringing up 35, 42 points on every opponent. He covered up a lot of mistakes on that offense last year. I mean, they had protection issues. They did not have the star talent at receiver. They had an okay tight end. They had a very good running back at Jahmyr Gibbs, but this was a shorthanded crew compared to what we'd seen in the past. So the question coming into the year was, how was he going to do with those guys? He did great. Mm-hmm. But my follow-up is, can you expect a 190-pound quarterback? The height doesn't bother me that much. He uses arm angles well. He gets outside the pocket. He did have some balls batted down, but that part of it, I think he can work around the way Drew Brees did over the years and Russell Wilson, et cetera. But the frame, taking those kinds of hits. I mean, Brees was a pretty well-built guy. Kyler Murray was 15, 20 pounds heavier than Young coming out. Yeah. I mean, Russell Wilson was built like a running back. So there's a reason why he was able to play for so long. He took a lot of hits too, but that's the worry for me is how he doesn't have an amazing arm. I mean, he has a good arm, a fine arm, an acceptable arm, whatever you want to say. Where he's special is his ability to dissect, make decisions on the fly and usually put the ball in a great spot. But yeah, I'm a little more sold on Stroud, and I think, I just wonder what the influence is in Carolina. Is this strictly a GM coach scouting department decision, or does David Tepper really want Bryce Young? I don't know. I'm just asking that question. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Who knows? And that's the unknown. And boy, if they do, Houston, Texans sprint to the
They might.
Stroud, throw it.
I'll tell you this though, some of this might be a little bit of gamesmanship from the Texans as far as like, trying to play some projection games here and whatnot. But I'm not 1,000% convinced that they are locked into quarterback at 2. They have the 12th pick in the draft too. They could take the edge rusher first and then find a way to trade up or stay at 12 even possibly. I mean, the options are on the table. So They have 12 picks and they have the ammo if they need it to move up. So
that would be wild.
That
would be a draft buster right away. That'd be a mock draft buster.
And look, I know we all want to score 100% on our mock drafts. It never happens.
No.
That's what makes the draft fun, is that early pick that just rocks the world, Trey Lance a few years ago, the Mac Jones, Trey Lance thing, and Joey Bosa was a surprise when he went off the board. I mean, those storylines that develop on the fly, I think what make the round 1 fun.
For sure. Very last one for you here. Got to ask you about Anthony Richardson. You talk about fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Look, the guy can't read a defense, but man, he is built like he's bigger than Cam Newton. He's faster than like a 5'9" wide receiver. I think, and it looks like he at least wants to learn. The combine stuff, again, you watch, and when he made a mistake, he was mad. He wasn't just like, it looks like he wants to be coached up. Landing spot is crucial, of course, but if you could tweak and bring this guy along, like I feel, Eric, almost like a Cam Newton who had better arm talent, but you could almost have him just run through people for the first year and try to coach him along the way.
To me, that's what gives him the ability to play early, is that he'll make up some shortcomings with his arm talent and also with his running ability. And everybody looks on the surface, oh God, he couldn't even complete 55% of his passes. There were a ton of drops, a ton of poor routes run by receivers, defensive backs getting position on guys. Now, I'm not excusing some of his inaccuracy. It's legitimate. I mean, there were some times where you thought Richardson just missed the throw. He's got to make that, right? He throws too many fastballs, not enough changeups. There's still plenty of things you can nitpick, but I'm with you. There's an exciting template with which to work, and you're 6'4", 244 pounds. Show that willingness to learn. He seems like a pretty humble kid overall. You're not even 21 years old yet. There's just so much to get excited about. He's just not there yet.
He's just not there. Oh, I love draft season. Like you said, there's always something strange that happens. It's so much fun. Eric, look, tell people where they can find your work and all that. You always do a great job.
NFL.com. Twitter handle is Eric with a C _ Edholm, EDHOLM. And it's the home stretch. We're almost there. Less than 2 weeks.
Almost there. Well, thank you very much, my friend, for taking the time. Talk soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. There he goes. Eric Edholm from NFL.com. Oh, now I'm extra pumped for the draft. I want to go watch draft day right now. Where's Sonny Weaver Jr.? Get me Putney. Come on. Oh, I love it. Interesting. I really hope Anthony Richardson goes somewhere where he can just run through people for a while. That's just highlight reel fodder. Bryce Young. Man, you know what, folks? You can lay some bets down, at our buddies at Betfred Sportsbook. Okay? Ohio, huh? Right in the show description. Click on it. You click, you register, you sign up, you make that first bet. That immediately qualifies you for weekly prizes. You get some crazy bonuses. They're changing all the time. Better than anybody out there at Betfred Sports. So go there and you can bet on who you think the first overall pick is going to be in the draft. Who's going to be the first quarterback? Carolina, you get Bryce Young. Yeah. Well, 2 years, you'll be having a new GM and coach in there. Book it if that happens. But you can bet on that. Also, first tight end. I got to old Uncle Andy's got some sources here, folks. I'm just looking at my notes here. Kincaid is supposed to be the first tight end taken in this draft. Okay? That's what I'm hearing from one of my sources who heard it from an NFL head coach as far as a consensus. All right? Take that for what you will. I'm probably going to put a couple bucks down on Betfred for it. Kincaid, first tight end off. CJ Stroud should be the first quarterback off, but it looks like Bryce Young. So you can go Betfred Sportsbook. Click right there. Let me know when you do. Shoot me a note with your slip. Let's talk about it. Have some fun with it. All right. One last note that we got to talk about here. Okay. In division. Odell Beckham Jr. refuses to leave our lives. He's back with the Baltimore Ravens. Guys, I was smiling ear to ear. People say, Andy, what was your reaction? My reaction was at the Ravens, pointing and laughing. Are you kidding me? The Ravens are making the moves that the Cleveland Browns typically do. You're paying OBJ, who hasn't been fantasy relevant this decade, who hasn't been NFL relevant on a consistent basis in 4 years at least. Back-to-back injuries, non-contact. That's crucial. It's not like he got blown up. Non-contact ACL. You're giving him 15 to 18 mil guaranteed? What drugs are you on in Baltimore? Look, keep taking them. Are you crazy? OBJ. All right. Hey, Beckham. Remember when you got your daddy to make up the little highlight video to hose Baker and sink the Browns? By the way, if I'm Kevin Stefanski, I would have kept walking right by him at the NFL owners meeting, giving him a hug. Get out of here, you loser. You ruined our season, OBJ. Take your fake Super Bowl ring and your elastic band withering ACL and get out of here. Okay? You fake poser. You ruined our season. You ruined Baker. Okay? So now you want to come to Baltimore. You thought Baker was bad. What if Lamar Jackson leaves? You're going to have Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley throwing you the ball? Boy, Papa Beckham better get his mouse finger ready and clicking away at those highlight videos. How about Lamar Jackson, who can only find Mark Andrews and where wide receivers go to die in Baltimore? Have a blast, pal. Have fun. Have fun. I can't wait for you to, if you're even on the field and not injured yet when you play the Browns, for someone to blow you up. Self-righteous guy that just drives me nuts. Wow. You think it 15 mil. What a stupid contract. And you want to pay Lamar Jackson, or Lamar Jackson wants that money. Now, it looks like Lamar was actually involved in the recruiting process. So maybe what this means, if we're looking at it, is that Lamar Jackson is finding that the NFL isn't open to his fully guaranteed, or his guaranteed at least as much as the Deshaun Watson contract, and that he might just have to play for, feel bad for him, 32 plus million bucks guaranteed on the franchise tag. Yeah. Okay. Boo-hoo. Worst things at 32 mil. Yeah. Give me that problem. I think that's where this is going. I think Lamar Jackson's going to come back and he's going to play on the tag because nobody else is going to pay that price tag. He's going to try betting on himself to have a great year and then try to get that money. Problem is he's going to get injured again. He's not going to have that great a year. He's going to continue to regress. And you got Odell Beckham Jr., who, as we saw in Cleveland, me guy. The great quote that I saw, the great clip, I'm not sure where you can find it, but it's Nick Chubb and Odell Beckham Jr. on the sideline. Okay, and Chubb was mic'd up. And Odell says to Chubb, man, I just want to score a touchdown. Chubb just looks up at him and says, I just want to win. Think about that. There's your difference. There's your character difference. There's your team difference. OBJ's about the odd highlight and his stupid one-handed catch that I can see 10 times any Sunday now. Or Nick Chubb doesn't care how many touches he gets, doesn't care how many touchdowns he gets. He wants to win. Big difference. I just want to win compared to I want a touchdown. I'll take a million Nick Chubbs any day over one OBJ. Okay. And the hype around him still. Why? Guy's done nothing. Baltimore, thank you. Take him. Can't wait. Keep being old Browns. Keep making old Browns decisions. Phenomenal. That team is getting stupid real quick, and I hope they continue. Let's go. All right, folks. Hey, I want to know your favorite sports movie. Mine's Draft Day. Kevin Costner. Go Browns. I want to know who you think is going to be the first overall pick in this draft. First quarterback taken. Make your bet at Betfred Sportsbook. And you want to get some cool fantasy football gear like this, Cleveland Brown gear, just go on the team shop below, give it a click, get some gear, have some fun with it. Draft is coming up. We'll be back next week. Thanks to Eric at home, and thanks to all of you. Click subscribe, follow on Twitter at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, Instagram at AndyMCSports. Follow along. Let's see what other craziness happens around the NFL this week. Thanks to everybody. As always, go Browns.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.